self-motivated. You cannot be looking for outside validation, right? A lot of times people need the outside stimulus in order to get up and to get going. You've got to be able to find that within, because if not, you dead in the water, right? Because people are going to come and go in your life. People are going to support you at some times and not at others, and so you've got to be consistent with being able to. It's fine to say we are not all of this. It's fine to say, I would rather see us elevate beyond this, but to deny it is what started to annoy me.
And I'm gonna tell you something. It made me feel some kind of way about you. That's the real problem.
But I didn't know it was gonna turn into all this. Oh,
well, I didn't know
now
it was
she
gonna
could
turn
be in
into
front.
this.
There is always something that we can be learning, growing, perfecting, shaping, molding, right? The minute we stop evolving, we're dead.
Me in your life, and you kept them over and over. You violated my privacy, you violated my space, you did it behind my back. I almost died. You understand? So I don't have to.
Welcome back to where the streets are buzzing louder than ever. And this time, it's all about Kirk and Rasheeda. Yes, Kirk is the man who gave cheaters a whole new definition, and Rasheeda is the boss behind Press Boutique. After riding the love and hip-hop wave for over 10 years, this duo is officially done, finished, and canceled. And not just by fans, but also by Mona Scotchung herself. Yes, it's giving end of an era energy, but to be honest, no one is surprised. If anything, wondering why it took so long, because, according to inside sources, the signals of royalty status's abrupt collapse and burn weren't unexpected. Mona, reportedly, ended things because Kirk and Rasheeda were not adhering to the terms of their contract. And even worse, viewers were no longer locked in. This mess caused their ratings to plummet, and instead of taking responsibility, Kirk and Rasheeda are now out there blaming each other as if they didn't have a hole. From the early days of emotional breakdowns outside of babies and jaw-dropping confessions of infidelity, Kirk and Rasheeda were love and hip-hop Atlanta. Whether you love them or not, they kept fans interested by keeping their eyes on the screen. Rasheeda had her boutique popping, and Kirk was busy doing everything but being faithful. But they remained on our screens. However, behind the scenes, it has been looking really messy, according to sources. Mona, after the quiet ride or die, Rasheeda allegedly started acting like a diva, demanding final say over scenes, refusing to film anything that didn't fit her boss's brand, and persistently pushing to rewrite storylines that didn't portray her in a positive light. Now, girl, what brand is it exactly? The silent partner to chaos and the long-suffering wife aesthetic have been the narrative for years. And fans have seen it all from Kirk, giving heartbreak to Rasheeda in the form of business cards while she was silently waiting, selling clothes, and quoting affirmations. Now that the cameras aren't rolling, it's everyone's fault because it's creating a false sense of urgency. It's too late to rebrand. The fans have moved on. The ratings have dropped. And Mona declared, time's up. She no longer plays favorites, especially when it comes to the cast members, who desire power without causing the upheaval that gave rise to love. And Hip-Hop interviewed.
What was the text messages?
The only reason they're gone is because we were arguing about some that don't even matter. And you know me. I'm energy only. Her energy is negative. I don't.
Just kept getting messier from there. Rumor has it that Rasheeda abruptly left a production meeting telling everyone that she didn't need the show anymore. Girl, weren't you just using that same show to push your boutique and your lip gloss line? She said. Meanwhile, Kirk wasn't doing any better behind the scenes, according to insiders who kept arriving late, forgetting his call times, and acting as though the crew was his personal assistant squad, treating the employees as if they were beneath him. Let's not overlook the subtle drama that began to surface regarding unpaid dues and shady brand deals that he allegedly failed to clear with production. After all these years of talking about biting the hand that fed you, how can you fumble the same platform that initially made your entire brand known? Let's work together to make sense. Insiders called Kirk and Rasheeda a production nightmare, but Mona kept them on for years despite the turmoil they were causing on the set. Previously, they were the go-to couple on reality TV, messy but captivating. What happened was that on what should have been a calm day of filming, the crew had everything set up, nothing dramatic. Focused on Kirk's latest venture, but the moment Rasheeda walked in, the energy changed quickly. According to sources, she arrived hot, already irritated, and immediately clashed with producers over the scene layout. Hey, this was because the viewers were hooked on their messy storylines: cheating, arguing, fake makeup, and side-eye forgiveness. It was TV gold. But even so, patience ran out, and Mona Sis was over it.
Be super angry at times and shut down, or it can make me snap the out and,
And it blew up. Rasheeda didn't just show up with an attitude. She came in with accusations that producers were making her look, that the entire plot was a hoax, and that she wasn't going to play herself on national television. Then, according to sources, she blew up on set, yelling so loudly that you could hear her outside the studio. She called out producers by name, saying that they were deliberately sabotaging her, spinning lies, and doing her dirty. Baby, she wasn't. Bluffing, Rasheeda threatened to leave the entire show mid-scene, and it got so bad that security had to intervene. Into a complete breakdown, and just as the crew believed, things couldn't get much more crazy. Kirk waded into the melee and said, "Cut the cameras dead." As if he were in charge, he supported Rasheeda throughout, calling the crew phony and destroying the production. Then, come to think of it, he went behind Mona's back to network executives in an attempt to cancel the entire shoot. That outburst alone reportedly cost the production thousands of dollars, and at this point in the game, Mona was already tired of their diva behavior and the constant disrespect. But then she learned of something that elevated it to a completely new degree. According to several insiders, Kirk and Rasheeda were allegedly leaking information to bloggers, accusing the show's editors and producers of making poor edits. However, they weren't merely dragging people online. They were also allegedly in private negotiations with another network, pitching spin-offs about their business, marriage, and alleged real-life drama. What's even more shocking is that the idea they were promoting was essentially a bootleg version of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Same marital drama, same tale of hustle and grind. Similarly, we are parents and business owners attempting to balance all aspects of their lives. At that point, it wasn't just tension anymore. It was full-blown betrayal. Mona no longer saw them as cast members. Instead, she saw them as enemies. They used her platform and then attempted to turn it around and compete with her as if she wouldn't find out. They didn't just bite the hand that fed them. They fled and attempted to open a restaurant using the same recipe. But this is where things took a sharp turn after dropping Kirk and Rasheeda like a phone without signal. No, ma'am, Mona didn't just remain silent. Instead, she gathered her closest team and allowed the rumors to circulate among the insiders. Say the entire love and hip-hop universe was thrown into disarray when Mona began subtly implying that some cast members had been playing both sides for years. Yes, people who smiled on camera were turning around and making power plays behind closed doors. And that small hint caused everyone on set to start staring at each other sideways. Trust was completely lost and loyalty was nowhere to be found. According to reports, Mona informed her producers that she was keeping an eye on everyone, editing scripts, reviewing contracts, and flagging all of the cunning ones. This is when Kirk and Rasheeda botched the scene, leaving the company with no usable film. After wasting hours on setup, Mona said, "That's it." Within a day, she dragged the crew into a private emergency meeting with legal representation present. The showrunners were also present, and Mona arrived, locked and loaded with receipts. Screenshots of missed calls. She provided internal memos to the VH1 executives, which were proof of broken clauses. The memos described Kirk and Rasheeda as non-opportunistic, disruptive, and straight-up liabilities. And the dreaded corporate word insubordination appeared in large, bold letters. That's right, this wasn't just one bad shoot day. It was about a whole pattern of disrespect that was broken. promises, and lost money, and then Mona gave the go-ahead to end their contracts with immediate effect. There was no last warning, no big reunion moment, no lengthy monologue under dramatic lighting, and guess what? They didn't even receive a proper farewell post. Kirk and Rasheeda always carried themselves as though they were above the franchise, as if they were doing Mona a favor by remaining, but in reality, they were just as messy as the others, if not more so. Rasheeda reportedly acted as though the show was just one big advertisement for pre-LHATL and wanted the camera time. But none of the chaos, sis, is about love and hip-hop, not QVC and Kirk. He arrived late, made shady side deals, and handled the production crew like they were his employees. His enthusiasm told them, "I'm the main character." He was actually on borrowed time, but now that they're free, they're playing the blame game, disparaging producers and acting like victims. Come on, you had the attention, the fan base, and the plot. But instead of keeping it contractually sweet and adorable, you became avaricious and attempted to change the script, which backfired. The interesting part is that some members of the cast are safe, others are sweating because Kirk and Rasheeda weren't the only ones pushing boundaries. For instance, rumors have it that Spice has been strict with production since her health scare, claiming that the show has been manipulating her storyline and transforming real-life trauma into a reality TV mess. Fans believe that she no longer needs love or hip-hop.
Studio with a big book in her hand, and she told me she wrote the song in the car. You know what I like? I don't see nobody in here. You're writing your own.
She has been a part of the franchise since the days of flip phones, but some are beginning to accuse her of rehashing old drama. She is still present but barely hanging on, and if Mona is scolding people for being unruly and lingering too long, Spice may be next in line.
So I apologize for that part. What I'm not going to apologize for is how I feel. So I'm going to tell you how.
So let me tell you why you telling me how you feel. You up when you.
I won't even begin to discuss Love and Hip Hop Miami because Trina has been absent for almost 2 seasons, and Pinky Doll's casting decision left many perplexed. Who said she was prepared for television? That one speaks for itself. Now everyone is claiming that the franchise is on the verge of a major shakeup, and Kirk and Rasheeda's dismissal may be the first domino effect to fall. But let's return to the streets quickly, because once this mess hit the timeline, the fans didn't just gossip, they got really involved. Some of them are really rooting for Rasheeda. One user wrote, "Despite everything Kirk has done, cheating, lying, disrespecting the Jasmine baby drama, that mess has been their only storyline for the past 8 years. Rasheeda tried to move on after forgiving him, but Mona's gang persisted in pulling her back into that same situation." They added, "Fatigued cycle throughout each season. Why does she have to keep reliving that mess for a storyline? It's tired, it's trauma, and it's just not fair," the fan inquired. And to be honest, it changed the debate. People are now stating that Love and Hip Hop has made a whole empire off of black pain, recycling, heartbreak, family drama, and betrayal for ratings and coins. Rasheeda got to her feet and remarked she's done all of a sudden and has been described as difficult to work with. Another internet user commented, "Let's be honest, I believe they resigned before Mona attempted to act as though they were fired." They continued by saying that Rasheeda is fed up with being forced to repeat the same plot point over and over again, and that she has every right to establish boundaries.
You've been married for going on 25 years and been in a relationship with somebody who you've lived your life with. You got things to think about before you throw everything away.
The internet remembers the true origin story, though, and let's take it back. Jim Jones and Chrissy Lehman were the ones who pitched the original concept back when reality TV was still figuring itself out. They came with a vision about love and hip-hop, and now it's not just about Rasheeda and Kirk anymore. People are dragging Mona too, calling her out for acting like she's the only reason these genres ever took off. Hip-hop's backstage life was brought to Mona, who turned it into a whole franchise without ever coming full circle with proper credit, checks, or royalties. Jim claims that he and Chrissy never received a dime from the empire that Love and Hip Hop had become, and they only watched from the sidelines as Mona turned their idea into a lucrative business with spin-offs, tours, merchandise, and everything else.
He was like, sure, let's do it. Let's come up with the whole synopsis and the premise and everything, and that's what we did. We came up with the whole thing and the name, and she involved Emily, and that's how you got Love and Hip Hop.
Interview 16:05/16:19 when Mona appeared on her confessionals. She claimed to have built an empire. However, the internet did not allow that to happen, and people came armed with receipts claiming that Mona had not created anything from scratch. Instead, she allegedly took the original concept of hip-hop and love from Chrissy Lamine and Jim Jones, flipped it and franchised it without ever giving them a thank you, credit, or check. She simply took the idea and ran with it, calling herself the mastermind. One person put it bluntly: Mona perfected someone other person's idea and established herself as the drama queen. Additionally, Mona is famous for saying, "At least I feed them." What if fans said, "Feed them"? They led her through timelines that supplied zookeeper energy rather than executive producer energy, such as What Is This, Animal Planet? People were tired of that tone because it featured puppets on strings rather than actual cast members with real lives and stories. Let's talk about legacy quickly, because some people genuinely think Kirk and Rasheeda were Love and Hip Hop, as if the show couldn't exist without them. The cast should be grateful for crumbs, while the network profits from their trauma. Now, here's the twist. If Kirk and Rasheeda were truly trying to break away and start something new on their own terms, some fans actually support it, saying perhaps they're ready to tell a story without being puppets for Mona's chaos. When one fan said, Kirk and Rasheeda think they're loving hip-hop. But sometimes people look like icons just because they've been around forever, not because they did anything. Iconic. Everyone on the internet broke down in tears. That's a bar because, let's be honest, they lasted. Sure. But were they evolving or just replaying the same heartbreak rerun every season like clockwork? Fans were fed up with seeing Rasheeda mourn Kirk's infidelity for the 27th time. Everyone, including Mona, may need to look in the mirror now that they're officially gone because, spoiler alert, it never was. Whether you like Kirk and Rasheeda or not, they were mainstays of the franchise. And people watched to see if Rasheeda would finally cheat on Kirk. She didn't, but the drama always delivered. Now that they've done so, Mona is reportedly moving quickly to patch things up, according to insiders, spending extra hours to attract new, younger, and messier faces. Think TikTokers with viral breakups, influencers with secret baby fathers, and possibly even couples with continuing feuds on social media. But this is where Mona could make a mistake. He cheated, and now she's crying because viewers want actual arcs, not replays, and the streets demand this. Fans aren't stupid anymore. They can smell staged drama, artificial arguments, and repetitive plots from a mile away. New drama, not recycled pain. So if Mona can't advance and offer the audience something fresh without resorting to the same old trauma soup, the entire franchise may begin to feel stale rather than iconic. Fans are sick of seeing the same heartbreak, arguments, and depressing plots in every season. And now that Kirk and Rasheeda are no longer in the picture, the show is already beginning to look shaky. And what's next for this wild duo? Rumor has it, though, they are shopping for themselves. They are pitching to streaming services and Black-owned networks like BT+, Seuss Network, and even OWN, and they aren't just talking about messy love triangles anymore. Instead, they want to focus on their businesses, such as Press ATL and Frost Bistro, and the growth they say they've been doing off-camera. Let's not lie, though, they have a devoted fan base, name recognition, and people who have been hoping Rasheeda finds peace. If they spin it right, they might just flip the narrative and finally control their own story instead of being edited by Mona and crew. However, since this whole saga got the entire internet fired up, it's your turn to talk. Tell me, was Mona wrong for firing them? Or did she just do what should have been done 5 seasons ago? Some fans are tired of watching her suffer since season 1, while others are just curious to see if Kirk can go one whole season without messing up. Would you watch the new reality program that Rasheeda released? Or is it giving if you've ever yelled at your screen during a Kirk and Rasheeda scene? Hit the like button and leave your favorite comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, so you never miss a drop, because, baby, I've got more tea to drink. Let's keep it real. Is Love and Hip Hop even worth watching without its most chaotic couple? Or is it just giving washed out and worn out spill-pressed wigs? I'll see you again.